Welcome to I'm in Furniture.
Welcome back, everybody. Here's a job I had recently on the coast, and we had bad weather being predicted for the afternoon, so I wanted to get an early start. And I had recently made some furniture for this house that was brought up to the deck, the lower of those two decks, but it's still a bit of a journey up those stairs. And it was 5 tall deck chairs and 2 loungers. The first step of this whole process was to get all the furniture, all 7 pieces, bring it down and around to the northeast side of the house, because the wind was blowing, and I determined, it wasn't hard to determine, but that northeast side of the house, on the side of there's a bit of a structure down there, kind of like an enclosed area. It blocked the wind pretty well, and it seemed like a good place to set up to do some painting. And the paint I'm using here is Sherwin-Williams SuperDeck. So it's not actually paint, it's a stain, but it's a water-based solid color stain. It looks exactly like paint. You use the same colors as paint colors are used, and these are colors the customer had selected, which are actually colors of his existing house. He's got the main body color, and then he's got a trim color, which is a little bit darker. But anyway, so I started moving the furniture around, just getting it staged up, and you could see the wind is active. It's not a crazy wind, but it's an active wind right on the coast. And so the first step is just getting everything set up, staged, and then we're going to do a little bit of sanding, because the furniture had been up on that porch for a while, 3 weeks maybe, and there's like residue from birds, there's some sunshine, oxidation. I wanted to make some of the armrests a little bit smoother again, just make sure everything looks good, and takes a coat of paint, takes a coat of stain actually. You can see right there, I'm using like a 40 grit. It's kind of rough, but it's fine. It knocks down bumps, it cleans up rough spots. It works very well. And I didn't go crazy. I didn't sand the entire piece or all the pieces, but the main areas where you put your hands and where you might handle or sit, I did a lot of those sanding areas and cleaned up pretty well in short time. So that was a good thing.
Plans are available for all of these at my website, island-crown.com. We have the tall deck chair over here, and we have the lounge. Position. A wonderful.
So the next big step is to get my tarp out, and it's like a 20 by 30, I believe. And I'm glad I was out of the direct breeze, because that tarp would have been out of control. And I only put a few boards on the corners and maybe a few others in the field to kind of keep it from moving. But it held up. It didn't blow around, and it was a good place to get started. Setting the furniture up upside down so I can start underneath into the nooks and crannies, the little places that you're never going to see. One other thing I don't want to forget to tell you, I have a Facebook group that I started recently. It's called Outdoor Furniture Makers, and this is perfect for something like that. It's all about this kind of stuff, making outdoor furniture, whether it's entry level or high level, or what are you doing? Are you repairing it, or are you starting from scratch? How are you getting your material? I'm looking for people to join and hear their stories, and maybe a group of people to help each other, a group of like-minded individuals. Outdoor Furniture Makers on Facebook. Thanks again. Keep it in mind. Go check it out. One thing I did wrong, I'm going to say, and it's a mild criticism, is I just started spraying. And I don't use this thing too often. So I have to refresh myself pretty much every time when I use it, because I don't use it too often. but I started spraying, and I was kind of had spraying on my mind. And once I got one of them sprayed into the nooks and crannies, I kind of proceeded to all of the rest of them, and I was thinking about coming back later and rolling it in or brushing it in. And as it turns out, I really didn't need the roller at all. I got it dirty, but I didn't need it. What I ended up doing is spraying some and then brushing it in with my 2.5-inch brush. And on the undersides, that wasn't too bad. I just kind of got everywhere I could, and inside corners and everywhere I could reach or see. But when I turned all the furniture right side up, there was a lot of getting in between the seat slats, and that took some effort. It's just tedious and time consuming to get that brush. I even tried a smaller brush, but it wasn't as strong, and it didn't work as well between the slats. But what did work for me, what I was happy with, was the 2.5-inch brush, just working it in between the slats. I've got about 3/8 of an inch in between pretty much most slats, but there's a lot of slats. There's 30 slats per chair, and actually not even talking about the loungers. I don't even know what it has, but there's a lot of openings there that had to be got, and it just kind of took a while. But what I found to be the most useful is spray an area that you can brush, and if it's a wall surface, maybe like 2 feet wide by 2 feet tall, something like that. Not too big of an area. Spray it and then brush it in, but while it's still wet, and then move on to the next area. And my areas aren't that big, so maybe spray a component and the edges of that component, and then brush it in before I move on to the next piece. And the more I did it like that, the more I was really satisfied with everything. The SuperDeck talks about 2 coats of paint, but this stuff is so thick. It is really, really thick, that once it's sprayed and then brushed in, it covers the end grain, completely seals up the end grain. If you just spray it on there, it doesn't seal it up, but once you brush it in, it completely fills and seals the end grain, on like the seat slats and some of that. My point here is spray and brush at the same time, and I'm calling that 2 coats. It was a handsome coverage. I've done a lot of work with some thinner SuperDeck, and maybe it's because of the color. I'm not sure, but I've used water-based, also different colors like gray and white at my house on my deck, and that absorbed a lot, and I had to put like 3 or 4 coats on some of that. But this particular one, this light blue, and even the other one's kind of a darker blue, a little bit darker blue. This process, it didn't require any more coats, and maybe it doesn't absorb so much. I can't attest to that, but spraying and brushing is the method, and it worked really well. So I'm happy with that. And I kind of guesstimated 2 gallons for the 5 chairs and 1 gallon for the 2 loungers, and that ended up being really well, a good fair amount. I had a little bit left over of each. I'm glad I didn't have. I'm glad it didn't run out. I'm glad it didn't have too much left over. It was a perfect amount. Now I'm gonna have to note that for next time when I wonder about quantities.
That's pretty much it. I just need to let it dry. You see how I had to prop it up so that we don't have major pieces laying in contact with the other. But in this breeze, in these temperatures, it's going to dry relatively quick. By the time I get everything else picked up, it should be dry enough to move it back upstairs. Like I said earlier, I don't paint anything often, and on top of that, I don't use this machine too often. But this machine, once I kind of refresh myself with it, it works really well for me. especially with the SuperDeck. You don't have to prime. You don't. In this case, you don't even have to prep it. You could prep. You could do like caulking on items, screw holes or joints, but the woodworking is already pretty tight, I would say, for outdoor furniture, with no caulking or anything, just tight glue joints. But and then the sprayer, it has a wide fan setting. It has a narrow setting. It's like a fan or a dot kind of thought process with that. It also comes with, I'm using water-based, and it comes with two guns. The other gun that I'm not using is an oil-based gun. It's got a different size orifice. One's like a 3 mil, one's a 10 mil, if I'm not mistaken. And the larger one for the water-based paint, the smaller one for the oil-based paint, because oil-based is a lot thinner. But so the good news there is you're never going to accidentally use the wrong thing and then get oil material on your water-based gun or vice versa. Anyway, and I don't have any clue what I paid for it. I could include some information about it, but I also got it on one of those super weekends or whatever they do, and I got maybe an additional 20 to 40% off. I forget, but it was a fair price already, and I got it at a better price. I'm happy, and it's a lot cheaper than a more professional gun. And it even says for home use only. It's not a professional. But for me, for the limited painting I do, it's been doing good so far. I've had it for 6 months or so, and I've painted like 3 times with it. So it's been helpful. I'm glad I've made the purchase, and I expect more opportunities to use it. So anyway, you lay the paint down in an area that you can brush before it dries up. And that's the way I need to, my problem is remembering things. I need to remember that for next time I use it, and so I don't waste so much. And I like to start with it upside down to get all the underneath nooks and crannies, and then I'll put it right side up to get everything else that you can see, and I walk around and I look for everything. But I'm really happy with the product. I'm really happy with the sprayer. These are good brushes. The day has worked out well for me. That's about it. Thank you for joining me. I'm trying to make more videos, so I hope you're watching them, and I hope you appreciate them. I hope you learn something, and I hope they help in one way or another. Even if you learn, don't do that, because Mike did that, and it didn't go well. Anyway, this went well for me. I'm happy, and we'll see you on the next one.